Biomed Nexus daily updates. Your essential biotech, medtech, and pharma recap. No noise, just what matters. TLDR-PTC Therapeutics won Sangamo's Fabry disease. Gene therapy at bankruptcy auction for $111 million in cash, plus up to $100 million in approval milestones. Eli Lilly took the capsid delivery, zinc finger, and Mint platforms plus a prion program for $50 million. The FDA granted accelerated approval to Bristol Myers Squibb's Zenbexus, iberdomide, the first CELMoD with daratumumab and hyaluronidase FIHA plus dexamethasone in multiple myeloma as early as first relapse on a 41% versus 21% MRD negative complete response rate in Excalibur RMM. Zipalertinib plus chemotherapy met the primary progression-free survival endpoint at a planned interim of the Phase 3 Resilient-3 trial in first-line EGFR exon 20 insertion lung cancer. Taiho and Cullinan will pursue U.S. approval. Zealand Pharma sold its rusfertide royalty to Royalty Pharma for $100 million, disclosed with its first-half report. The drug's FDA decision in polycythemia vera is due this quarter. Eli Lilly filed 6 lawsuits against U.S. sellers of black-market retatrutide and says it has reported more than 14,000 illegal websites and listings in over 100 countries. Executive takeaway: we set this week's through line on Monday. Infrastructure captures value with less binary risk than pipeline. Every day since supplied a variation, and on Thursday a Delaware bankruptcy courtroom printed the thesis as a price sheet. One company, unbundled, the buyer of the platforms paid cash, firm, no strings attached. The buyer of the drug, a filed near-approval asset in a multi-billion-dollar market, structured almost half its price as payments that exist only if the FDA says yes. Same estate, same day, 2 kinds of value, and the market told you plainly which one it underwrites without conditions. Carry the nuance, not just the slogan. This is not a case against drugs. The drug drew the bigger number. It is a case about who absorbs the binary. Zealand made the same trade in reverse this week, cashing out its rusfertide royalty before the verdict. Everyone holding an exposed binary is quietly finding someone structured to hold it, and wherever those binaries pool is where the next choke point business gets built. On Monday, we start counting them. Read full analysis. Gene therapy: a bankruptcy judge just ran the cleanest experiment yet on what gene therapy is worth. PTCT, LLWAS, SGMOC, Sangamo's Fabry disease. Gene therapy went to PTC Therapeutics for $111 million in cash, plus up to $100 million tied to FDA approval, while Eli Lilly paid $50 million flat for the capsid delivery, zinc finger, and Mint platforms plus a preclinical prion program. Sangamo had already started a rolling accelerated approval filing for the Fabry asset, which PTC plans to complete in the 4th quarter, per Biopharma Dive, with the estate still shopping the Hemophilia A program and its cell therapy assets. Note the shape of the 2 checks. The platform buyer paid firm cash, while the drug buyer made the estate share regulatory risk. That asymmetry is the week's whole story, and the pro-brief prices it below. Multiple myeloma. The Revlimid succession plan is now an approved drug. BMY, the FDA granted accelerated approval to Zenbexus, iberdomide, the first CELMoD agent, combined with daratumumab and hyaluronidase FIHA, plus dexamethasone for multiple myeloma as early as first relapse. In the 939-patient Excalibur RRMM trial, 41% of patients reached an MRD negative complete response versus 21% on the daratumumab, bortezomib, and dexamethasone comparator at 16 months of follow-up. The label carries real toxicity with grade 3 or 4 neutropenia in 84.3% and fatal adverse reactions in 4.9%, so community uptake will be the question. It is also a policy landmark, a franchise-scale approval built on the MRD surrogate, and the pro-brief takes up what that unlocks. lung cancer zipalertinib just earned its shot at J&J's Exon 20 franchise, and Cullinan gets paid on approval. CGM Taiho and Cullinan's zipalertinib plus chemotherapy met the primary progression-free survival endpoint at a planned interim analysis of the 285-patient Resilient-3 trial in first-line EGFR exon 20 insertion non-small cell lung cancer. The numbers are held for a medical meeting, and the companies will take the combination to the FDA. Per Cullinan's SEC filings, a first-line approval triggers a $100 million milestone from Taiho, with US profits split evenly, and a second-line decision is already due February 27, 2027. The incumbent is J&J's Rybrevant, approved first-line since 2024, so the effect size shown at presentation is the thing to watch. Capital Market Zealand sold its claim on a coin flip, and Royalty Pharma bought it. Zeal, RPRX Zealand Pharma, monetized its rusfertide royalty through a $100 million purchase agreement with Royalty Pharma, disclosed alongside a first-half report showing DKK 14.5 billion in cash and petrelintide now in Phase 3. Rusfertide, the Takeda and Protagonist hepcidin mimetic in our tracked polycythemia Vera race, has its FDA decision due this quarter. Selling ahead of the verdict converts a maybe into a certainty and moves the binary onto a balance sheet built to hold hundreds of them. The pro-brief maps who else made the same trade this week. Obesity Lilly is suing to protect a drug it cannot legally sell yet. LLY Lilly filed 6 lawsuits against compounders, med spas, and online sellers of black-market retatrutide, and says it has reported more than 14,000 illegal websites and listings across over 100 countries, alongside referring 200-plus sellers to regulators. Retatrutide is in Phase 3, approved nowhere, and on our tracked timeline for a first quarter 2027 filing. The suits are brand defense, but read them as a demand signal too. The grey market for the triple agonist is already large enough to be worth litigating a year before launch. For the obesity thread, that is the strongest free evidence yet that next-generation launch economics hinge on supply and channel control, not appetite. Quick hits. The FDA's PDUFA 8 commitment letter is out, with America First provisions and faster review pathways per Endpoints News. Newly released EMA documents show incorrect and misleading advocate trial data drove June's recommendation to revoke Amgen's Tavneos in Europe per Endpoints News. Our call that the evidence base was unraveling stands. Ovid and Takeda assigned Soticalstat to a Perceptive Advisors-backed newco, with Ovid keeping up to $294.5 million in milestones plus royalties and equity per Ovid's second quarter report. Abbott and Google launched a multi-year partnership pairing Lingo glucose data with AI coaching per MedTech Dive. PDS Biotech halted its Phase 3 head and neck cancer program to focus on a colorectal candidate per Fierce Biotech. In today's full analysis, be sure to read the full article for all the details, including the full auction results table, who bought which Sangamo asset, for exactly how much, and on what timeline. The road to a Fabry approval, from the rolling BLA to PTC's fourth quarter filing plan, the complete Excalibur REMM efficacy and safety table behind the Zenbexis approval, zipalertinib's deal economics, and the Exon 20 race against Rybrevant. Read the full breakdown, the week in review. Monday, Replimuni's Tudrikev won accelerated approval on the third try, and Curium bid up to $8.0 billion for Lantheus radiodiagnostics business. The through line was set, infrastructure over pipeline. Tuesday, the left tail. Ciona's Science 719 add-on missed, and the stock lost roughly 92% per market reports. Tenax's Level Phase 3 missed, and Silence's Dive Siren 1 in polycythemia Vera the same morning. Wednesday, the FDA rejected the factory, not the drug. ITM's CRL cited only manufacturing items, and Scholar Rock cut the OAI-flagged Bloomington plant from its SMA filing to protect the September 30th action date. Thursday, the right tail. Definium's DT120 went 2 for 2 in Phase 3, with a 5.4-point placebo-adjusted win in anxiety, while Prader-Willi absorbed the VCAT XR safety cluster and Aardvark's termination in one day. Friday, the Sangamo auction priced both sides of the argument in a single courtroom, and Zealand cashed out a binary ahead of its verdict. Biomed Nexus Pro-In. Today's Pro Brief. What the auction's two prices imply for every platform biotech trading below cash, and the second data point that will confirm or break the read. The MRD shortcut just produced its first franchise scale approval. What the same agency blocking factories while approving on surrogates is actually telling you 3 ways to sell the same risk: the trade, Zealand, Ovid, and Sangamo's estate, all made this week, and the column we are adding to the barbell count, plus the full Catalyst calendar, updated with 3 new dates, upgrade to unlock institutional analysis. The week opened with an $8 billion bid for plumbing and closed with a courtroom splitting a pioneer into a platform and a coin flip. The thesis held, and the drug still drew the bigger number. Both facts belong in your model, and Monday we set the new through line. What are you watching? Reply to this email. Read, full article sponsorship slots for 2026 are limited. See packages and pricing. New Biomed Nexus signals weekly sales intelligence for life sciences BD teams. Learn more.